What's going on, guys? We're going to go over a few stocks today, starting with SOFI. So here is what I have for SOFI. On the weekly chart, ascending triangle breakout, and now we are retesting that uptrend. We could see a pullback. Basically, if we look at IWM, we're at a pretty critical point here, nearing all-time highs. As you know, we tapped it last week. We actually broke all-time highs and rejected. So this could either break out, third time's a charm, and break out and blow off the top, where SOFI and the other stocks I'm talking about will likely follow suit. But if this breaks down, these are some pretty key supports here, and we could just see a pullback on these small cap names. So that's something to keep in mind. It really depends what IWM does. SOFI was, overbought a bit, so that's why we saw a bit of a pullback this week. And I have two load zones. So first one would be around 24.50 to 25, and then we could break down further. We could either test this uptrend and hold, so right around 23.25, or we could break down a little bit more to 21, and this is where load zone number 2 would be. But I do think we're going to pull back and then bounce higher, and I obviously think SoFi is going to end the year anywhere from $32 to $40. So a lot of eyes on this name, a lot of momentum behind it, but we're still in that uptrend even if we were to pull back. This one would be a little bit more concerning, but it would likely hold and people would buy in again. So something I'm watching for SoFi. And then calls are still outweighing the puts, and we see a lot of this for October, a little bit of December. So calls are still outweighing, but puts are starting to creep up a bit, so people are expecting a pullback. But still $728K in call premium versus $318 in put premium. Next up is Open Door. This is one I'm still heavily watching, and I did buy in Friday with a starter position just in case this plays out, this first scenario. So making that ascending triangle, could see a pop here and then a big breakout as more eyes are starting to get on this. We could also see IWM pullback, as I mentioned, potentially fill this gap below to 643 and then bounce higher. So definitely want to see 557 hold, which would be the retest breakout. If we go to the weekly, we'll make this clearer. So could be a little bit lower than 557. Really don't want to see it go below 497. And if we look on the monthly, it would look something like this. So still a healthy pullback if it were to pull back, which could happen. But Open Door looks really good. I decided to buy in, and my next buys will be in the green zone there if it were to come. But at least I have exposure if we were to rip. All right, getting into the call flow. So this is from the beginning of September to the end of the year, into January. I am hiding the calls that have already expired, and we still have 50 million in call flow versus 2 million in put flow. So a lot of people are betting on this one to continue higher, which gives me more confidence in it. I also saw something interesting here. So stock lies in the middle of a very wide and strong rising trend, and they actually expect the stock to rise 313% in the next 3 months, and with a 90% probability between $28 and $50 at the end of the 3-month period. That's pretty insane. That would be amazing if that happened. So they are expecting this thing to break out and head all the way nearing all-time highs. So all-time highs for this stock is 39. So we'll see how that goes. That's why I got the starter position. Another thing I wanted to point out was this tweet right here. So it says we're going to have some insanely awesome talent join Open Door. And they are leaving behind big tech companies because they believe in Open Door's mission. So, that's pretty positive for the company. I do think they're going to do big things, and that's why, I did pick up some calls and some shares, and be pretty exciting if this thing breaks out and actually goes crazy. But if not, we'll still be holding longer term, at least the shares. Pretty much the calls, they expire in January, so only have a few months for those. All right, and last up is RIVN. So this is the monthly time frame. It already broke out of the monthly, and I do expect this thing to continue to rise as long as IWM breaks out. So we have some, heavy supply here, 16, 17, $18. So could see some choppiness in there, but we do have a gap to fill on the weekly. If we switch time frames here, gap to fill here, which is filled at 23.08. And then you likely see a little bit of a sell-off there, but continue higher. The reason I am eyeing Rivian is just because it's been consolidating for so long, and we see this flow here, 710K, mainly targeting the end of the year. So the last 3 months of the year, I could see this thing rallying. So something to keep an eye on. Looks pretty clean here. So definitely want to see, the breakout continue. I'm looking to get in some calls for January. Breakout continues, fill the gap. Hopefully don't even sell off and just hit this end of year rally. But yeah, keep an eye on Rivian. And yeah, it could squeeze because I guess there is high short interest. So definitely going to be watching this one. But thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe and have a good one.